Hey, what's up, permaculture people? This is Teddy Matson, Seed of Life Permaculture Design and Landscaping. I'm here in Belfast, Maine at our first homestead garden. I'm close to completion here. I've been working on it ever since we moved back to town from Asheville, North Carolina. It's been about a month. Obviously, I would have liked to get things in faster, but as you know, life takes charge and you only do as much as you can do. But I'm getting close. I'm gonna get the last of our seedlings in. I know it's late in the season, but we do have a bunch of things in already. Right behind me here, we've got some tomatoes and basil and onions. Tomatoes getting trained up these maple posts that came out of some brush that was produced here on the property over the past few years. So right here, I've also got a full bed of red and yellow onions. In both of these beds we got that, and I just want to tell you a little bit about these beds, how they were constructed. They're basically just inverted sod. So this is close to contour. It's I didn't use an A-frame or anything to find the contour lines, but this area here was already cultivated as a garden before, as you can see maybe by seeing how the ground is raised up. It's sort of on a little bit of a plateau with a sort of berm around it. I know that it was grown on before, so I kind of used this rectangle that was already established, kind of put stakes in the corners and pasted out to make sure it was pretty even. And then I just started digging a trench at the top, using the spade to cut parallel lines in the sod of equal width, about the width of the spade head. And I just flipped over the sod directly downhill to make the base of a raised bed. The beds end up being wider than the paths because when you break the sod out and flip it over, it goes back down less densely than it was as the sod. So that makes a slightly wider bed than path, which is nice. I wanted both wide beds and paths for this garden because it's going to be mostly blocks of staple crops, bigger plants mostly, and I just wanted high accessibility and mobility in the beds, not a whole lot of intricate polycultures going on. So as you can see, this is just a monoculture of onions. I might interplant it with carrots or other roots, staple crops. Probably carrots because they have different root profiles. The onions are mostly on the surface, so they're not going to compete for real estate in the soil. So what I did, like I said, I dug these trenches. I'm just going to walk around the garden as I talk so you can see different angles. I dug these trenches. They end up being pretty deep. Like this bed is really, a foot or more thick because it's inverted sod and then soil dug out from the trench piled on it. So it's rather deep. But then what I did was I filled the trenches with wood and then top dressed it with wood chips. So usually, I might just do this all with wood chips if I have a easy source of wood chips, which I did in Asheville, and I've had a harder time finding free wood chips here. I did actually end up buying 10 yards for more money than I might want to admit, because I used to be able to get them free all the time. But these were all free from the transfer station. But anyways, the wood beneath the wood chips just takes up space, and I'm essentially hugelkulturing the paths. Normally you do hugelkulture beneath a bed, so you dig a trench, fill it with wood, get all your dirt and sod out of the way, fill it with wood, and then reapply the sod kind of the same way, inverted, cover it with soil, cover it with compost, add any other organic material you want before the compost, or before the sod, soil, and compost goes on. So the difference here, though, is I'm just doing it in between the beds. So it's actually less work because I'm only moving the soil once. On a hugelkulture bed, you have to move it twice to get it out of the trench and then back on after you fill it. So I thought this was just a good way to use what I had to save time, to kind of stack functions. The hugelkulture in the paths is going to hold moisture and release nutrients slowly over time. So that was that whole experiment, and I think it's going to work. I think I'm going to continue to do it because there's a lot of trees on our property, a lot of storm damage that happens, a lot of firewood production. I'm going to be making trails in the woods. I'm going to produce a lot of woody biomass, and what isn't firewood, building material, already bearing some sort of crop, or chipped or mushroom logged, is going to be hugelwood. So there's like a hierarchy of uses for wood material that I think about every time I cut something down or come across woody biomass that I can do something with. So it's just a row of hot and sweet peppers. Here's a mixed kale variety, and surrounded by more onions in an attempt to deter pests, because most things don't like onions. I got one bite off this pepper, I think, from a woodchuck, and it was probably hot, and he decided he didn't want any more. So hopefully that's a memory-based deterrent. So right here, I'm just coming down to the last 3 rows that haven't had wood chips on them yet, so you can see what it looks like, the hugelkultur paths. So this is all wood that I cut from storm-damaged trees 5 years ago and piled up on the edge of the trail, or the edge of the field. So taking up a lot of space that would otherwise be hard to find or expensive wood chips. And like I said, it's going to break down slower, hold moisture well, not move anywhere, because we're not in a big slope. We're not going to expect any huge rain that could, like, move this wood out of here. So this is something definitely to do on less sloped land. You wouldn't want to do this on a steep slope, because you could have a blowout and a landslide. So these 3 rows here was 4 truckloads of wood in that truck. My little old Toyota that I'm still keeping alive. Just got the frame fixed, just got it inspected. It's been a great truck, and I don't want to let it go. So it's done a lot for me. But yeah, essentially 8 yards of wood I've gone into these 3 paths. So overall, it's probably been 10 yards of rotting woody biomass in this bed. So it's a high labor initial input way of gardening, but I didn't have to use any fossil fuels other than my truck a little bit, which I just started using on this project. We have a right of way over there, and I wanted to get to the wood across the field, so I have to wheelbarrow it. But yeah, so just thought I'd share the process here, and I'm gonna finish putting compost and scything more of this field for mulch, and get the last of those seedlings in. I didn't show you, but there's some more brassicas over there. I know it's late. I hope they survive. And I'm gonna after all that's in, I'm gonna make some fencing with some chicken wire that goes underground, some old tree cages you can see over there from a permaculture installation I did 5 years ago. And I'm going to use more of these maple posts from the brush to hammer into the ground and make posts, connect the fencing around that, and then lastly do an outer perimeter of fish line tied to more posts at about 6 inches and maybe 3 feet, so that if deer approach, they'll hit this invisible line and it'll freak them out because they won't know what hit them, and they hopefully won't come back. So I'll make another video to update on that process later on, and keep you informed about what's going on in the permaculture adventures in Belfast, Maine. All right, take it easy. See you next time.